So please welcome via satellite Senator Elizabeth Warren. Yes. So, Senator, let me just recap, because last night you were accused by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell of impugning or criticizing Senator Jeff Sessions, who's been nominated for the very important job of Attorney General.
Yes.
Your criticism of another senator, which is against the rule. That's the rule, called Rule 19. Now, do you think you violated the rule of the Senate?
No, I did not think I was violating the rule of the Senate. You know, keep in mind that Jeff Sessions had been the U.S. Attorney for Alabama back in the 1980s, and he had prosecuted civil rights workers for trying to help elderly black voters get to the polls. And so Coretta Scott King, who was just an eyewitness to history in all of this, ended up writing a letter to the Senate Judiciary Committee when Jeff Sessions was nominated to be a federal judge. And so I was reading from her letter to the Senate Judiciary Committee from 1986, and I read this line: Mr. Sessions has used the awesome power of his office to chill the free exercise of the vote by black citizens. And that was it.
And you were totally shut down because you wanted to read that letter. But in 2015, Senator Ted Cruz called Mitch McConnell a liar from the Senate floor, which violated Rule 19, which is the same rule that they say you violated.
That's
Why
right.
do you think McConnell didn't respond to that when he was in office? Do you think that it was party loyalty or what?
Look, you'd have to ask Mitch McConnell about that. But what I do know is that Coretta Scott King's words are deeply moving. They are powerful, and they describe a moment in history in which Jeff Sessions was an active participant. They revealed much about Jeff Sessions' character, and the Republicans don't want to hear it. They want to find a way to shut it down. I urge everybody to go read Coretta Scott King's letter. I've posted it on my Facebook. I've read it aloud and tweeted it out. I hope everybody reads the letter, because the letter is directly relevant to the question of whether or not Jeff Sessions should be allowed to be the highest law enforcement officer in the entire land.
I'm going to go read that letter. I promise you I will. Senator Warren. Hi, this is Reba McEntire. I was wanting to know, do you think this would have happened if you were a man?
You know, I can't know. But I'll tell you this. You're reminded how hard the struggle is. Can I read you another little part of Coretta Scott King's letter? She talks about later in the letter, the irony of Mr. Sessions' nomination is that if confirmed, he will be given life tenure for doing with a federal prosecution what local sheriffs accomplished 20 years ago with clubs and cattle prods. That's what Coretta Scott King had to say. That's why I want everyone to read this letter.
Okay, we will.
Well,
Good.
Senator,
Good.
this is Sunny Hostin. You know, why do you so strongly oppose Senator Jeff Sessions' nomination for Attorney General? Because he has denied that he is a racist. He has denied that he is a bigot.
You know, talk is cheap. Actions are what matter.
Can I just jump in for a second, Senator? Because a lot of people in Congress that have worked with him over the years say exactly that he's a great guy. We've worked with him. The Democrats were okay with him all these years. Now all of a sudden they're turning. How do you answer that?
Look, this is not about confirming someone to be Attorney General because they're polite. This is about whether or not this is someone who can be trusted to uphold the rights of everyone in America, not just those who share his political opinions. You know, Coretta Scott King concluded her letter by saying, based on his record, right? Not on what a conversation's like, based on his record, I believe his confirmation would have a devastating effect, not only on the judicial system in Alabama, but also on the progress we have made everywhere toward fulfilling my husband's dream that he envisioned over 20 years ago. That from the widow of Martin Luther King Jr.
Ted?
Senator, some have expressed concern that if you set a precedent on either Republican or Democrat side of breaking Senate rules on the floor to obstruct, that it only leads to more chaos and divisiveness and that it doesn't really accomplish anything. What's your response to those who say that?
My view is reading a sentence that says he has used the awesome power of his office to chill the free exercise of the vote by black citizens did not break any rules. It is a factual statement of exactly what this man did. And, you know, it's directly relevant to the question of whether he should be Attorney General. Keep in mind, we have in the Senate a constitutional responsibility to debate and then advise and consent on this nominee. And the notion that this violates the rules, saying that someone who was there, who saw it, said he used his power to chill the free exercise of the vote by black citizens, breaks decorum? No, it's not about decorum. It's a fact. And talking about those facts is what we should be doing on the United States Senate floor.
Senator Warren, this is Sarah Haynes. I wanted to ask for some advice for people out there who are trying to support the president and the administration for the good of the country, but don't want to be normalizing the behavior of President Trump right now. What can people do?
I think the number one thing for people to do right now is to stay connected to each other. It really is. It's the reason we have Facebook, and it's the reason we have Twitter, and it's the reason we have email accounts. We have got to stay connected to each other because we're going to have very limited tools on our side here in the Senate and over in the House of Representatives. We don't control the government. But it is the grassroots. It's people out there, person to person to person across this country, saying, these are my democratic values. It is the reminder that the character of this nation is not the character of its president. It is the character of its people. That's what really matters.
That's powerful words. Now, you know, the good news about this story, I think, is that it's getting a lot of backlash. They are getting backlash. There's this hashtag, Let Liz Speak, and there are T-shirts out there saying she persisted. Do you think that any of this kind of backlash or protests, do you think they'll have any impact on Jeff Sessions' confirmation? I mean, there's been a lot of backlash on a lot of these nominees, and they still got confirmed as far as I can tell.
You know, look, they've got the votes. They may go ahead and confirm him. I just have to be realistic. We may not be able to stop it, but I'll tell you this. That does not mean that we give up. It does not mean that we lay down and die.
That's right.
It means we get out there and keep fighting at the grassroots level.
I hope you're right, because Rush Limbaugh has famously said, oh, all this marching and protesting, they're all going to get tired of it. Do you think we're going to get tired?
No, Rush, we are not going to get tired. We are here to stay. You bet.
I know you'll never get tired. I know that. Our thanks to Senator Elizabeth Warren. We'll be right back.